Just to make you aware that today's meeting will be recorded. Due to the absence of the Chair and the Vice Chair, the first item today will be to appoint a chairperson. Can I please have a proposer for Chair?
Propose Councillor Phil Rogers as Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Henton. And can I please have a seconder? Would you put your mic on, please?
I second that.
Thank you, Councillor Reynolds. Can any members indicate if they wish to abstain? I can see no indications to the contrary, so I take it the decision is supported. Councillor Rogers, can you please take the chair? Thank you.
Well, Prynhawn da, croeso. Good afternoon and welcome to this hybrid meeting of the Education, Skills and Wellbeing Scrutiny Committee on the 14th of March 2024. I am Councillor Phil Rogers and I will be chairing this meeting. Please can you ensure that your phones are switched to silent for the duration of the meeting and that your microphones are muted when not speaking. If members wish to speak or ask a question, please could you raise your electronic hands or your physical hand if you're in the council chamber. Also, for those in the chamber, please use your microphone when speaking. For the purposes of the next agenda item, which is declaration of interest, I confirm that we're going to scrutinise items 9, 11, 12 and 13. From the Cabinet Board agenda. Agenda item 2, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest from members today based on the items we have chosen to scrutinise? If yes, Pamela will forward an electronic version of the form for you to complete and email back to her.
I can see no indications, Chair.
Thank you, Pam. Agenda item 3, the minutes of the previous meeting. You will see the minutes attached at pages 5 to 16 of your agenda pack. We will take the two sets of minutes together. If you feel these minutes are an accurate record of the meeting, I'll need a pause and a seconder. If members do not indicate the contrary, then I will take the minutes are improved. Has anybody got anything on this? And I can't see any indications. Could I have a proposer then, please?
Propose Chair.
Seconder, please.
Happy to second, Chair.
Thank you both.
I can confirm those minutes are approved, Chair.
Thank you, Pam. Agenda item 4. Pupil attendance update on pages 17 to 26. This report is here for information is on page 17 to 26 of the scrutiny agenda papers. Officers, would you like to add anything additional to the report?
No, thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chris. Do members have any questions of the officers? Councillor Sonia Reynolds.
Thank you, and thanks for the report. Very informative and great. Found that the link didn't work that was in the papers, and I suspect there's a hub link. It told me I wasn't allowed on that page, so that it might have been that. But found the report. I had seen it before. They were, if the thing that interested me as well as the generality of the report was I wondered, and I couldn't see it mentioned in the report, but there's an item in the Estin thematic review which is about the implications of pupils living under 3 miles and having problems with transport. We know that that's an issue, and particularly for those of us living slightly further out and on roads where it can be a problem and there aren't many bus routes, etc. Has there been anything identified within county where pupils are using the fact that they can't get transport to school as an attendance issue, either as an excuse or a reality?
Yeah, the simple answer is yes. Some families do use that as a reason, so I'm not going to use the word excuse, a reason why they're either not attending or late to school. But until the 3 mile, 2 mile rule changes by Welsh Government or Westminster, we're sort of hands are tied, really. But bad weather is another factor. Mondays is a factor. Fridays is a factor. There's a lot of factors. We've just been very lucky so far this year that the illnesses has been pushed away. We haven't seen the outbreak of measles, chickenpox, norovirus. But obviously the COVID hit everything sideways. But at the moment, our data is showing that we're more or less improving from this time last year. And that's all we can ask for is year-on-year approval. But we are looking at schools, session times, days of the week to certain year groups. But to answer your question, yes, it can be used as a reason.
Many thanks, Chris. Councillor Reynolds, you happy?
Thank you, Chris. You know, and it is various things of concern, and my impression, having done a learning walk on Monday, was that a current virus is about to hit that record into the long grass. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Reynolds. Is there anybody else who'd like to make a comment, please? I can't see any other indications. This report is for information only, therefore we note the report. Agenda item 5, pre-decision scrutiny. We will now move to the Cabinet Board agenda for pre-decision scrutiny. The Scrutiny Committee members have decided to scrutinise items 9, 11, 12 and 13 on the Cabinet Board agenda. Next up is agenda item 9, admissions to community schools. Schools admissions policy, back from consultation. This is covered by pages 197 to 224 of the Education Board agenda. This report is here for decision and is on those pages. Officers, would you like to add anything additional to the report?
No, thank you, Chair. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you. I'll start off. It's really an observation, really. I know I brought this up already. I am concerned. I'm on the governance of Llangatug Community School. There's a worry that some schools are oversubscribed early because they take in preferred placements. And then because the school capacity is already reached, when someone moves into their area, then they end up having to travel quite a considerable distance to the next available school. I know of 2 instances in Llangatug itself, and we have a child who has to go from the top end of Sgewin to Llangatug, therefore bypassing Doravillin because it's already full. Yeah. Now I know it's according to the rules, but is there any way we can press the Welsh Government to make amendments so that in-year availability is there for those who move into the area? Because at the moment, we push all the time about meeting the needs of the pupil, and I don't think asking a pupil to go to school outside of its area where it's not able, especially if they're new, how could they make friends if they're not actually in school with people that live in their area? So I think it's grossly unfair. So I'm just thinking if you can make representations to the Welsh Government on that line.
Thank you, Chair. Noted.
Are there any other questions on this item, please? Okay, we'll move on. The recommendation is listed on page 201 of the Cabinet Board agenda pack. I'm happy to propose it. Can I have a seconder, please?
Happy to second, Chair.
Can members please indicate if they wish to abstain?
I can see no abstentions, Chair.
Thank you, Pam. Members, if you do not indicate to the contrary, then I will take it that this decision is supported to Cabinet Board.
Chair, I can see no indications to the contrary, so this recommendation is supported to Cabinet Board.
Many thanks, Pam. Moving on, Cabinet Agenda Item 11, Adult Learning on page 229 to 302 of the Cabinet Board papers. Officers, would you like to add anything additional to the report?
No, thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. Do members have any questions of the officers? I have a couple of indications. We'll start with Councillor Sonia Reynolds, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you again for a great report. You'd have been absolutely floored if I didn't ask a question, Angeline, so I'm or say something. I just wondered, you know, in terms of, and it may be in there, I didn't see it, and I apologise if I've missed, but there were rather a lot of papers to go through this time, and some of the detail may have slipped past me. But the spread of courses available in outlying communities. I know I see one or two. I also see a lot of courses advertised where I think, oh, that looks good, and then it's in Talbot or So is there what's the spread of courses that are in the valleys and the community venues? And the other part of that is, I'm wondering particularly about, because you do some really good work linking with parents and parents and homework and that sort of thing, whether there are solid links, and I suspect there are, knowing you, with Flying Start and their parenting courses, particularly the piece that we just looked at and look at later, the rise in exclusions, etc., the attendance drops, whether there's a way of working with adult learning that can support parents to get their kids to school, to understand the rationality, and Flying Start being a key possibility in that.
Thank you, Councillor Reynolds. Angeline?
Thank you, Councillor. Michelle is here. She's our project manager for adult learning in the community, so she'll come in as well with a bit more detail. But you're right, in terms of the course that we have for parents and things, we do some through the schools. We work with Flying Start, community focused schools as well, so we kind of have lots of those relationships, but Michelle will give us a bit more detail. And then with regard to the geography spread, then you're right, there is quite a lot, for example, in Team Over, because that's our main centre and it's difficult sometimes to find actual places for people to be. There is quite a lot in different areas, but Michelle will talk about our engagement worker that we have that kind of works in the communities, because as you know, Councillor, we've been in your community for quite a long time, and how it kind of works with our engagement worker. So I'll bring Michelle in now just to give us a bit more detail.
Yeah, we've employed an engagement officer who's been trying to reach out to the communities, the hard to reach communities. But we are trying to put the courses on, but with our Welsh Government guidelines, we have to have 8 on a course. So when we haven't got 8, we sort of have to decide then where. So we sort of go where the majority is, with less people travelling. And we've also then to sort of deal with that challenge as well. We do hybrid. So all the learners then, if they'll have the opportunity to work online with us. We've got a digital inclusion sessions officers and ambassador. We are looking at moving more into Seven Sisters, into the areas where we are not, so that we'll upskill them with the digital skills. And then hopefully, if they haven't got the course there, they can go online. So we do offer the hybrid qualification learning. And with the schools, we're working well with the community focused schools, but we're trying to get in all schools. And we work with family information service. We do a lot with the TAF as well, where we work with parents and they get signposted onto our learning. What else? The learning engagement officer, she's attending all the events, like we do Croesero, Seven Sisters, we've got one coming up. So then we work then, and if there is the need there, we do put the courses on. We put on our social media. We ask the communities what they want, and then we'll send courses up. We'll have open days. We'll have taster sessions in schools, community halls, and then we go with that then, and we put the course on. So we do try to reach all areas.
And I suppose just to add as well, happy to have the conversation in your area with our engagement worker to see if there's anything that we need to put on that we don't actually at the moment. Okay.
Great, thank you both. Councillor Reynolds, you happy with that? I think it's something to promote in your area and then get enough people that they'll be put there, I think, yeah.
So we don't do too bad up where we are, but I'm thinking any councillor, just to perhaps again put it out to councillors, because I think it's it's something which, and particularly parenting and support and support for home, things like that. And the other thing, just wondering, came to me while you were talking, whether there's any links with youth groups and how we can get to adults linked to that sort of age group at all, whether there's any way through there.
Gillian?
Yeah, I mean, youth service sits with me as well. So we have a good working relationship with Jason Heaney and Michelle's team. But yeah, there could be a reminder for us as a team in our team meetings to just have that discussion again. So thank you for that, Councillor. And we can send some information through maybe to all members to remind people of what we do in terms of our engagement work, if people want to come back to us and have further discussions in their communities. All right.
Thank you, Angeline. Happy, Councillor Ellis? Yep, okay. Unfortunately, it's me next. I got a little point. Having read the report, I think it's really, really encouraging. The take up, and what I couldn't get over is the sheer amount of courses that are available. It's really, really encouraging, and the tie-in with parents of children. So we try to get at it from a different direction, really, attendance and having people to commit to school. So it's really, really encouraging. There's just one bit in the report that I was a bit puzzled at, that's all. It's on page 230 of the report. And it's I don't know where it sits and why it's ended up here. That's all. I just want a little bit of background on it. Neath Talbot Council have been awarded a grant that will help towards making homes in the county borough more efficient, more energy efficient. And it goes on to say about it. And then it says the adult learning the community manager is coordinating it. And I didn't understand what the tie-up was. Angeline?
To go. Yeah. So yes, so we tend to get quite involved in lots of different things, as you can see from the report. We worked with our environment colleagues last year, thinking about energy and kind of renewal and all that sort of skills aspect. And because we were doing more work in terms of skills generically across the borough, I spoke to one of our colleagues in environment, and we kind of worked with the college to look at the retrofit, because Una, for example, works on energy in her area. And because it was skills, it was thought that it would be useful for us to kind of look at that. So we brought a bid together, working with the college. MCS was the provider of the funds, so it's around 75,000 in total with match. And the reason it's kind of sat here is because it's one of those that's a bit different in terms of all of my portfolio. And I brought Michelle in to help me oversee it, working with the college. And it's really about helping upskilling people for the retrofit in terms of energy in homes and them being more energy efficient, and qualifications. So we're working with the college to do that piece of work. It's been ongoing now for just under a year, Michelle, hence the reason it sits under this here, because Michelle is our adult and community learning manager. So Michelle's doing that work with me to make sure that we utilise the funds, and we work with a number of schools, number of qualifications, working with the college, and just really trying to push the energy agenda forward. So that's kind of why it's sat here. Glad you asked the question. Thank you, Councillor or Chair. It's working really well and in partnership with others.
Oh, thanks, Angeline. That's brilliant news. It just seemed a bit odd that it was in there. That's all. I can see it's all skills based now and promoting for the future, really. So that's really encouraging. Thank you. Are there any other questions on this item, please? Okay, this report is for information only, therefore we note the report. Moving along to Cabinet Agenda Item 12, the Comedy Festival, on page 303 to 314 of the Cabinet Board papers. Officers, would you like to add anything additional to the report?
No, thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Chris. Do members have any questions from the officers? We'll move to members' questions, and I have a couple of indications on this one. We'll start off with Councillor Sonia Reynolds, please.
Thank you. I was just we all agreed in pre-briefing that we need the cheering up. So welcome to see. But small venues, it mentions our main theatres, obviously. Right, small venues. We're looking. There wasn't a list, and I wondered, have we got a good? It just says 14, I think it is. Have we got a good cross section? Have we already picked them? Are we, is anything open to discussion? Basically.
Thank you, Councillor Reynolds. Chris?
Thank you. I'm really pleased to bring the report forward, actually, because it's it's a piece of good news, I think, isn't it? So I'll bring Andrew Griffiths in a minute, who's I'm very grateful for picking up sort of some of the programming of this, and he can sort of give a bit more around some of the small venues as well. But just a bit of a plea really from my perspective is that as you're talking to communities, if there are sort of funding opportunities out there that you're sort of hearing about that can help us develop this, because we've got a small amount of funding available from SPF. So if there are other things from community councils or other local local groups that you think might be useful, then we'd be very pleased to hear about that as we go through. I think we sort of start small and try and grow this a bit over the next couple of years. I'll bring Andrew in on the venues, if that's okay.
Yes, just sharing a microphone here. Councillor, that's a great question. And from the outset, when we were putting this together, we really wanted to focus on spreading things out from the main theatres. It's important that we have the main theatres involved, and we've been working with the managers of each of the theatre to programme and to proactively, in some cases, approach agents and performers to perform there, those people who want a bigger venue. But our fringe acts, we're working with and getting advice from a couple of local people who are plugged into the comedy scene, not just locally, but UK wide, to bring some acts who have performed in the Edinburgh Fringe, etc., but push those out into Valleys communities. We didn't put a list together. We have a working list, some of the venues we've talked to already, and it is important that it goes up to Valley. So, for instance, GCG, Cwmllyn Veth, Seven Sisters Welfare, G2 Bar in Blaengwynfi. I'm sure we've all spent a night there. So a mix of really of rugby clubs, community centres, and private venues. I think through our sort of discussions with people of what works and what doesn't, it does come down to probably licensed premises. These will be sort of midweek performances. We don't want to take revenue opportunities away from these venues in terms of like functions and weddings, etc. And these tickets will be subsidised and sold very cheaply. And we're looking at between 30 and 40, an audience of 30 and 40 people at each of these venues. If we can achieve that, I think it will be a good start in year one.
Lovely, thank you, Chris and Andrew. Councillor Reynolds, you happy?
Yes, I'll have a chat with the officers after the meeting. Thank you.
I can't wait to attend that bar. I don't know, in the middle of the week. Yeah, okay. Lovely. Are there any other? Oh yeah, sorry, I've got a couple of questions. Councillor Wayne Carpenter is next, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm thrilled to think that what was formerly known as the Neath Comedy Festival is now included for Talbot. One of the concerns I have is that many of the comedians we see on our television screens are very different in terms of content when they're live. And I hope that within this festival, there are family type events that you could take children to without the use of bad language and blue humor. I would ask for a balance on that, because families need to go out and enjoy comedy. Comedy is good for your health and a good laugh is good for you. But I'm concerned sometimes about the content of certain comedians. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Carpenter. Andrew, please.
Yeah, I'll pick this up. Thanks. Very good point, Councillor. It is essential that we use a filter on this and bring in people who, whilst we can't prescribe, here's a list of words you can't say, we need to make sure that everybody's on the same page of what kind of a festival we are aiming for. This is, inclusive festival that's not going to upset anyone, but and why should it? This is something that is good-natured and has particular objectives. In terms of opening it up to families, some of the other what we're calling fringe activities that we're looking at planning does include performances, particularly for children, some perhaps street theatre in town centres and village centres, and some performances in residential homes as well to take comedy of a appropriate type into those places as well, those settings.
Lovely, thanks, Andrew. Councillor Carpenter, are you happy?
Yes, very happy. Sadly, we don't have many of the Ken Dodds and the Tommy Coopers these days, which can make people laugh without the use of bad language. And that was my concern, that a lot of people we see on our TV today become very different when it comes to a live performance. And okay, if people want that sort of humour, fair enough. But I think the inclusion of family shows would be very important to make this a success. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Carpenter. I think that's a very good point. Can I bring in Councillor Rob Wood, please?
Thanks, Chair. Yes, I'm very supportive of this. But I think if we look back, especially at the seafront, Aberafon Beach used to have festivals. And for those of us who can remember, we had Uncle Bryn down there, with all the crowds cheering. I think, this is something that could work at the beach and at the seafront. We could have a lot more open air shows down there. And I think it's important that we increase the tourist draw to Aberafon Beach. And if, in the future, and I'm not saying for now, because this is already sort of done and dusted, but if we could look at using perhaps comedians to promote the seafront in this light, and I think that would be a good idea. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Wood. I think, Chris, would you like to come in?
Yeah, I'll just come back on that. Thank you, Councillor Wood. I just to add that, there's lots of really great ideas and things that we can do sort of going forward. I think we're we're slightly limited by the funds we've got this year, but actually the aspiration is definitely to sort of grow it, and hopefully it'll get some sort of legs of its own and do some all those sorts of things you just talked about in the future.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Councillor Wood. Yes, are there any other questions on this particular item? Councillor Ken Phillips, please.
I just wanted to come in the wake of some of those points and just say that the whole it's been very much a theme throughout the discussions on this to make it feel like an event that is for the whole of Neath Talbot and across the whole of Neath Talbot, with a diverse variety of venues up and down the valleys, and with including the Welsh language. So, and I'd just like to place on record my thanks to the work that's been put in by Andrew and Chris particularly, but by the whole team so far, and I'm looking forward to an excellent event. Thank you, Chair.
Many thanks, Councillor Phillips. Yeah, I think we all agree this is a fantastic idea, and I think we wish you all well and hope it all goes well and goes from strength to strength. Hopefully, become an annual thing, and hopefully pick up people's feelings at the rough time at the moment. It's a brilliant idea. Thank you very much. This report is for information, therefore we note the report. On to Cabinet Agenda Item 13, the annual pupil performance report. This report is for monitoring and is on page 315 to 324 of the Cabinet Board papers. Officers, do you have anything additional to add?
No, thank you, Chair. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Chris. We'll move to members' questions next. I have an indication already. Councillor Sonia Reynolds, please.
The usual suspect. Having had the up in the comedy festival, we have the slightly depressing down in this. And there's no criticism here. I fully understand this is a Wales-wide and possibly a UK-wide phenomenon, post-COVID, etc., and the exclusions and we know. I mean, I know from my own experience that we're seeing, behaviour deteriorate in youth settings and in other, aspects. It's problematic. However, I am interested to look at, the fact that we are above the national average in what it looks like in all aspects in terms of exclusions of pupils, and I'm, I was also wanting to look at the fact that where we talk about there's the change with the curriculum, and there being no submission of teacher assessments to the local authority or Welsh Government at any given point in time, but an ongoing situation, and just have some sort of feel as to how feedback and information is then gathered as a result of that, and see where that goes going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, no problem. Again, great questions. So to start with progression and assessment, the world has changed. We have moved away from testing 7-year-olds and 11-year-olds sitting down at a desk with a piece of paper. Thank goodness we've moved away. So it's continual assessment and progression that we're working on, and we're supporting our schools to do that in the best they can. So from a point of view of examination, there should be a continual assessment process by all schools so that young person knows what to work on, how to work on it, how we can support the family. So when they do finally walk into a hall and sit an exam, or they do vocational work, it's not a surprise to them. So they walk away with what they expected to have or better. That's what we're working on at the moment with all our schools. As the national curriculum rolls out, it will catch up with the other year groups of year 9, 10, 11. We are waiting on what the Welsh Government are going to do about quals and qualifications. So we wait to see what's going to affect that. From an exclusion point of view, I don't tend to compare ourselves to anybody else because it's not my problem what's happened in the Vale or Cardiff. I have to look at our young people. So we are doing everything as a combined effort to work with families first. So the blame should not sit on the child's shoulders. So we start with that. We're also trying to improve the quality of teaching, because in my experience, the quality of teaching directly impacts on the quality of learning. We're also trying to improve provision to make sure the child is being given exactly what they need, and early identification, and working with the early years on that, and all the way up through the system. So although we have seen a spike in exclusions, we are trying to work on getting ahead of that rather than deal with after they've been excluded. And hence whether there's a CAP team and we work with social services, and we've got the health colleagues, got inclusion colleagues, we've got everyone, SIP team, all involved in trying to get the best for that family first, support the family, support the child, support the school. Will we see a downturn in exclusions? I hope so. But what we should see is children receiving better support in a more timely way to affect the family, because some of these young people that go home do not get the support that they need, and some of those families don't realise what support they need to give. So all of that coming together to work on trying to increase and improve the quality of teaching to impact on the quality of learning.
Many thanks, Chris. Very clear. Councillor Reynolds, would you like to respond?
Thank you, Chris. And that's, as you'll be aware, that's one of the reasons I was asking about adult learning and how we can link in, and if there's any way that can link in, and was pleased to see that it is linking in. But in terms of my question about the assessment was, I'm very pro the national, the new curriculum. Did a learning walk on Monday and was really quite excited by some of the ways and things that were happening, and that was really, really good. But I am concerned about how that, I know there's communication, how exactly that feeds back within to the system. How do you, or how do we as a local authority get that information? How does that go back to Welsh Government? Is there at what point is it captured in any way, and how that happens?
Chris?
Yeah, certainly. Progression steps are being measured. So we will have, by working with the school, an idea of an individual or a cohort of what they may or may not achieve. What we're also working on is educational learning pathways. Not every child is designed to follow a curriculum through a school. So we're trying not to use the word alternative curriculum, because there is only one curriculum, but we are using the phrase educational learning pathways. For some of our young people, educated at a skills centre, educated at an actual event, working with businesses is best for them. Our junior apprenticeships are a really good example of that, where they're learning a trade at an earlier age with literacy, numeracy, the Welsh language and digital technology. So we have a continuous system to monitor. It's just, Councillor, it's just not collated in the old-fashioned way of SATs and end of Key Stage 3 exams and end of Key Stage 4 exams. It's just not. So this way, we should be able to give positive feedback to that young person so they improve on a daily basis rather than a termly test.
Many thanks, Chris. Councillor Reynolds, happy?
Formative as opposed to summative. Lovely, thank you. I was interested in the Key Stage 3 results as well, in terms of first language Welsh, which was the one that didn't drop. And I wondered, whether there were any other correlations with that, whether it was, there were less children there that did free school meals, or lower levels of ALN linked into first language Welsh or anything like that, and whether that linked across as well. It was just trying to bottom out why that would be the case.
Thank you, Chris.
No, it's no problem. We're also looking into that. But as you can see, if you look at the profile of our Welsh medium schools, they have significantly got less FSM compared to non-FSM. There are lower levels of ALN. That doesn't mean that they've got no additional learning needs, but they've got lower levels. You also can look at the support that they may receive at home as well in a different standard to what others do. So if the FSM does come with other packages with the family. So we are looking into that. It's not sort of unknown to us, but we'd like to try and learn to see if we can replicate that in other schools as well.
Is there anyone else? Thanks, Chris.
It strikes me as well, it means there's a real job to do in encouraging various different categories of families and groups to attend and do first language Welsh and to spread that a bit. It seems that we're not getting a good spread in those schools.
Thank you, Councillor Reynolds. Anybody else would like to ask any questions, please? Okay, I can't see anybody else on the end. I'll bring in the Cabinet Member for Education and then please, Leah, please.
Thank you, Chair. It was just in response to your first question, really. I think it's really important to look at the contextual data in this. We have some of the most deprived areas in Wales, and alongside the deprived areas, which, classified as free school meals, there's an increase in ALN as a result of that. And it's an absolute knock-on effect on results and everything. We've actually done rather well because a lot of the pupils that wouldn't have been succeeding previously have actually moved up into higher qualifications areas, whereas they didn't previously. But I think it all ties in with, the children's pathway and everything. We need to be getting in there early and working with families as a whole. And I think until we get out of our deprivation area, I think it's going to be an uphill struggle. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Jennings. If there's no other questions, Chris, I'd like to personally and on behalf of the committee thank you all for your hard work. We know it's a difficult task in trying times, and I think the county itself is ahead of the game as far as the new qualifications are concerned. I know my involvement in there, and obviously a previous educator as well, so I know what you're going through. Okay. Oh, sorry, Councillor Reynolds again, please.
I did premise my remarks by saying no criticism, no, just trying to find out and dig into the facts, which is what Scrutiny is about. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Reynolds. This report is for noting. The pre-decision of public items is now complete. We'll now move back to the scrutiny agenda. Agenda item 6, the committee action log. It's on page 27. This is a standard agenda item. The item is for noting unless members have any questions. Councillor Sonia Reynolds.
I wished to, as I notified in pre-briefing, to make a request for or requirement for the full outline of the working group on Celtic leisure.
Sorry, Councillor Reynolds. That comes under agenda item 7.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
The action log. Sorry.
The action log. Yeah. Okay. We'll come back to you in a sec. Okay. Anybody have any questions? Members have any questions on the committee action log that's produced on page 27, please? I can't see any indications, which moves us on to agenda item 7, the forward work programme or plan for 2023-2023, which is on page 29. It's just for noting, and if I can bring in Councillor Sonia Reynolds, please.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I'd like to make a request for the April meeting to include a paper outlining the makeup and terms of reference of the working group on leisure services. Thank you.
Sorry, can I refer this over to Chris, please?
Yeah, can I? Thank you. Can I just get a bit of clarification on that? So it's the work, it's the terms of reference and the makeup of the group, not the progress of the work.
Quite happy to have the progress of the work as well. But I really wanted to know who was on the group and the terms of reference. Progress would be an added benefit. Thank you.
So what I was going to suggest, if it was okay, Chair, was maybe we did a verbal update at that, because that progress, those meetings happen quite regularly, and I don't want to come forward at that meeting with something that happened, with having gone through a report, something happened a month or so earlier. So I was going to suggest a verbal update at that meeting, if that's okay. But I can provide the terms of reference and the makeup if that's what's required.
Yeah, Chris, would it be possible to send them out to all members of the scrutiny committee, please, and so everyone's clear on who's involved and who's on it? That'd be great. Yeah, Councillor Sonia Reynolds.
I'd like that documented for the meeting as well. I'd like those details. I'm quite happy to have a verbal update on progress, but I'd like the working group details to be part of the papers.
Just to check, are the working group details to be sent out before the meeting?
It's already set up.
It's ready. Oh, so we need it on the meeting itself, or if you're going to get a copy beforehand. Okay. Okay, I'm happy to go ahead with that. No problem. Thank you. Moving along to agenda item 8. Urgent items. You'll be delighted to hear that I have no urgent items. That brings a conclusion to the meeting today. Thank you all for joining us, especially those online. I'm glad you stuck with us. Thank you very much. And for those who are travelling home, may I wish you all a safe journey. Thank you.